Hello and welcome to another session of Let's Get Real with Mona, where I share stories and teachings to inspire you to turn your dreams into reality. Now, how amazing is this today that we get to celebrate what's known as Valentine's Day together? But by the end of this show today, this session today, I always say it's a show because it feels like that. We're going to be renaming this day. And my beautiful guest today, Eveline Zwikker, she's the catalyst for renaming this day. So, Eveline, thank you so much for saying yes to joining me today.
Thank you, Mona. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be on your show today.
Wow. You know, when Eveline said yes, Eveline and I have been creating magic for a while now behind the scenes. But it just felt so apt when I asked Eveline if she would come and share some of her magic with all of you today. The theme for this month, February, is magic. And yes, we're going to be weaving that in with self love. And you can understand why Eveline is a self love sage. So, we get diving into this conversation about self love and magic and how it's all interwoven together with abundance, let me tell you a little bit about the amazing Eveline Zwikker. Now, I already told you she's a self love coach, self love sage, but she's also an oracle, a soul alignment coach, and a heart centered wayshower based in the Netherlands. Now, Eveline teaches high frequency female entrepreneurs lacking in self love how to realign with their soul and reconnect with their divine loving self so they can create and live empowered and joyful lives. By being a powerful channel and catalyst, remember, I did tell you she was a catalyst for the name change of today, which we'll speak about later. Eveline lovingly guides her clients to their authentic self. Now, Eveline's mission is to awaken higher consciousness, to create empowerment, and spread unconditional love. So, Eveline, tell us, how did it even come to be that we're sitting here today and we're speaking about self love? I mean, has this always been your journey? Have you always been a self love sage?
It's really interesting that you ask that. I think self-love has always been a theme in my life, but I never used to be conscious of it until life showed me that this was the path I needed to follow. I mean, I was a person who did not love herself. I sought love outside of myself in relationships, in jobs, and was never fulfilled or happy. And I had to endure 2 divorces and a burnout in order to find myself and to deepen my own self love. And they say that what you have to learn the most is what you're here to teach.
Yeah.
And so that's what I feel is my core message, that we all learn to love ourselves, that we all learn to reconnect to the heart and spread that love from our hearts into the world.
Wow, that's so beautiful, Eveline. Now, before we even delve deeper into the subject of self love, because sometimes I guess there's a lot of misunderstanding about what that actually is. But like I said, today being celebrated around the world as Valentine's Day, being in the type of communities and the type of work you and I do, we do know that Valentine's Day has become a complete commercialized event because that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Can you speak about it? Because I saw a post that you did earlier today and I absolutely loved it because there's some really, the ramifications of this Valentine's Day and what it does to people, how it negatively impacts people. Can you just speak a little bit into that, Eveline?
Yes, I was walking with my dog this morning and I was thinking, oh, it's Valentine's Day. And then I was thinking how I felt a couple of years ago on Valentine's Day,
Mm.
really down because I didn't get a rose, I didn't get a card, and it made me feel less. It's like, okay, so there's no love for me, but there's love for others. And I think that's a wrong way to think about love, because love is all around us. And it's so important that we tune into that vibration to feel that love. But our ego makes us think that love is something outside of us, right? In a
Yeah.
person, a place, or a thing. And so we become dependent on that. And so Valentine's Day has commercialized love. And I think that's wrong. That's why I called it Happy Love Day, because
Yeah.
it's about love. It's not about, it's not about Valentine's. It's about love. A Valentine is can be a loved one, but love is much bigger than that. And it's kind of like Christmas as well, right? When it's
Mm.
Christmas, we're supposed to be loving and kind and peaceful and not have any conflict. Um, Actually, every day is love day. If you think about it, every day we should tune into love. We should give and receive love. And I think that's how we're coded.
Mhm. Wow. I love that when you shared that earlier today as well on your Facebook page, Evelyn, because, like you say, we've forgotten what the true spirit of Christmas is. The same for this day. We've forgotten what the true spirit is, was to remind us, to for those of us who forgot how to love, to consciously reconnect. That's how I see these special occasion days. It's to help us reconnect to the essence of what that day symbolizes in its
Mhm.
highest form.
Mhm.
So for people that are out there, like you mentioned something very important. For people that have felt challenged by experiencing love, for people who have been looking for someone or something else to acknowledge them so that they can feel loved, right? How would they get back on track? How do they go and find what it is within them to really step out the way you have? Like you said, you've had to go through two divorces and a burnout. And here you are, you so joyfully share the wisdom that you've gained through these experiences.
I think a lot of people, like I said before, look for love outside of myself. They make it dependent on something. And it all starts with loving yourself. Self-love is the cornerstone of our well-being, of our foundation of our lives. Everything starts with self-love. If we don't love ourselves, if we don't connect to our hearts, we will experience rejection. We will experience negativity. We will experience toxic relationships because we are not able to, for example, set healthy boundaries because we don't even know what boundaries are. We are not able to practice discernment. Is this person good for me? Oh, no, it's not good for me. Okay, then I will not engage with this person.
Mm.
There are so many aspects to self-love, and reconnecting with that heart, with the true essence of who you are. That's where it starts.
Yeah. And you focus on female entrepreneurs, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, that's your sweet spot. So for female entrepreneurs out there, there's so many of them that are suffering from burnout. There's so many of them that are just pushing themselves, not knowing which way to turn and trying all things and going into further burnout. Like, what would your guidance be, and how would you link self-love to their current state of feeling this overwhelm and burnout?
Well, I think burnout has to do with the inability to set boundaries and this
Mhm.
limiting belief of I'm not good enough. So a
Right.
lot of women and also men, because I also help men that are lacking in self-love, believe they need to push themselves, they need to achieve, they need to seek approval from the outside. And once we're able to let that go, once we're able to remove ourselves from the judgment, approval from the outside world, and we start giving that approval to ourselves, we turn, yeah, what's the word? We get more aligned with our own flow of who we
Mhm.
are.
Right.
Because burnouts happen because we put ourselves under immense pressure. that we have to achieve something. And we can't say no, right? Saying no is just not done. It's not the way we're brought up, right? We're always supposed to say yes. At least most of us are conditioned to say yes. And saying no means I'm guarding my boundaries. I'm choosing me instead of the profits of the company, for example.
Yeah.
So it's having creating a healthy attitude about yourself, a loving attitude about yourself. And one of the tools I've discovered, which has helped me, is an ancient Sufi meditation, which is called the Latifah Prayer,
Yeah.
which is part of the divine feminine energy, because it helps you to reconnect with yourself through the combination of breath and meditation. And what you do is you awaken 7 qualities within yourselves. They're called latifs. Latif in Arabic means soft awakening. So you awaken these qualities in consciousness. And these qualities are acceptance, desire, hope, trust, surrender, love, and I am. And you do this in a cycle. So you start from the lower chakras and you go up to the higher chakras. And by doing this movement, you start awakening, for example, your desire. You know, all of us, or most of us, have suppressed our desires. We're not allowed to feel our desires because we were disappointed when we expressed our desires. Or we were told, you can't have that. So we said to ourselves, okay, I'm not allowed to ask for anything. Whereas desire comes from the soul. And when we suppress an innate part of ourselves, we suppress a part of our soul. So this meditation tool has definitely helped me to create an anchor of love in myself, where I can now easily, or more easily, set healthy boundaries, own my yeses and nos, and really feel into what's right for me and what's not right for me. You know, it's a simple exercise as well. When something feels right, and you know that, and most people know that, the heart expands, right?
Yeah.
But when something feels wrong, the heart contracts. And it's these little movements that are nudges from our soul. And when we're so busy in our heads, because that happens when we have burnouts and when we become ill, we're so busy, we're so stressed with doing, that we forget to feel.
Yeah.
And once we start feeling, we can start noticing those nudges and think, oh, okay, this is what my heart is trying to tell me. This is where my soul is leading me. Yeah, and it's a beautiful, loving way to reconnect with yourself. And I've incorporated that in my programs.
And I've had experience of your Latifah process, in which I can attest to what I describe it as magical experience. Because for me, that's what happens when my heart opens. Everything is magical. And I guess it fits perfectly with the theme for this month. Because when you can see through the eyes of, it's like that absolute clarity, it's that you can see through the eyes of love, because that's what I got to experience through the Latifah process that you take your clients, and what I got to experience in one of your sessions as well, Eveline. So for anyone out there, if you're interested in this, because I didn't even know that this process existed, and I've been doing personal development, all these different type of work, to empower myself. So when Eveline shared that, I'm like, whoa, this is seriously powerful. So yes, thank you for that, Eveline. But Eveline, you touched on something else that's so important, our boundaries. And funny thing, I did a session earlier today, my session on Radio Bop, and one of the tips I gave for self-love, because I link self-love to abundance, was saying yes to only that which adds value to your life and lights you up. So that makes so much of sense, because anything else takes away from us.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, and it makes us small as well, because if we feel a no and we say yes, we're not being truthful to ourselves.
Mm.
This is a time in this new energy where we're asked to be authentic
Yeah.
and to honor our truth.
Yeah.
And so when we don't honor our truth, we make ourselves small in order to comply with the wishes of someone else. And then we
Mm.
forget that we're the most important and not the other
Yes.
person.
Absolutely. I just love that because, like, you and I are so in tune. We're having this conversation now. And for our viewers, no, it's not prepped. This is, well, that's
Live.
why we do. Exactly. We do lives. We do not script. We just speak because I guess that's the truth. And Evelyn, I mean, in your work, this is what you've seen as well, right? When we connect to our true essence, when we can love ourselves enough to just show up and let whatever wants to be channeled through us, whatever wants to come through us, just flow through us. I think those are the most magical conversations we can have.
Yes, absolutely. Because those are the conversations from the heart.
Yeah.
It's you're not trying to put it into a type of form, or you're not
Yes.
trying to come over professional, or
Yes.
uh, you're just yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what shines through. And I think that's so important. I mean, that's why my business is called Soul Radiance, because
Mm.
when your soul is nourished with love, it radiates. It
Yeah.
radiates with love.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
that's
love that. I,
yeah,
I'm thinking about that time when that name was downloaded to you and how things just started flowing because
yes,
you connected. And Evelyn, because you've been on a journey like you've described with getting to know that beautiful sacred part of you, reconnecting with that, and it just downloads when we are aligned. It just like everything locks into place like a puzzle,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's no, you don't have to push. It just
Yes.
happens. You're open and you're receptive and you're tuned into that vibration. I mean, I don't even know how it happens. It's just, yeah, you get these ideas and you trust them. And I think
Yeah.
that's important too. You
Yeah.
can, the mind can come, that's not a good enough name. No,
Yes.
nobody will like that name. But if you honor your truth inside your heart, then no, because the moment that name came, it was like a light bulb. It's like, okay,
Yes.
that's it. That those
Yeah.
light bulb moments, that's magic.
Yeah, that's pure magic. And you know what? Like I said, I was so blessed that I was part of that in that space, that container, to witness that with you. Because I think for me, another aspect of like opening the heart is when you can bear witness to the magic that occurs when we allow ourselves to love ourselves so much that we are willing to listen to that higher wisdom, that beautiful, deep voice that lies within us. That's such a connection that it's to be experienced. The words cannot even describe it to the extent that
Yeah,
we want
yeah, yeah, that's
to.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
many of us have a closed crown chakra
Mm.
because we're so busy, because we have limiting beliefs. And so the spirit can't come through. It's like spirit's knocking, hello, please open. And we're still in the mind. And once we're able to, and also just through breath as well, just being
Mm.
conscious of your breath in and out. We're having some company from my dog here.
Oh, that's beautiful.
um,
Hello.
you shift from the mind into the heart space, and most of the people know this, and some
Yeah.
people don't. I mean, for us, it's something that's so normal, but
Yes.
for many people, it still isn't. They breathe
Mm.
also up here, and when you start, relaxing the body, then you can deepen your breath and access the heart, and then magic happens. But it
Mm.
doesn't happen when we're clouded.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Evelyn, what are some of the things you do? Like, how do you know when you're not loving yourself? Like, just some practical examples, because, like I say, we've been doing this work for so long. So if we use terms like self-love, um, it's easy for us to connect with the meaning of it and the deeper meaning. So
Yeah.
for some people who are still like understanding it, because they may understand it on like this intellectual level, right?
Mm.
Because that's where a lot of us come from. What would be some of the things like for you when you know you are expressing self-love versus when you're not expressing self-love?
Well, I think one of the things is what I mentioned before is that if I'm not owning my truth, owning my yeses or my nos. So if
Right.
somebody asks me to do something, and in the past I would always say yes because I'm a kind and caring soul and I want to be of service. But that's the
Yeah.
problem with light workers and other people who are not light workers who want to be of service, is that we overextend ourselves and then we
Yes.
get tired and exhausted and we start resenting the people because they're asking so much of ourselves. But it all starts with us saying, okay, I can help you for 5 minutes, but then I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
That's an expression of self-love, an expression of not loving yourself. So not
Yeah.
being able to say yes or no. And an expression of self-love is self-care, for example. Listening to that voice that nudges me to go outside for a run, even though it's cold and rainy. It's like, go, you feel much better. It's like, no, no, go, go. And every time I go, and that's really magical, if it's bad weather, then I usually have good weather. Or if it's good weather and it's about to rain, I get home just before it rains. It's always divinely timed when I listen to those nudges. So that's really cool. Yeah. Just
Wow,
like
I love that you said that, Evelyn, because if you don't mind just pausing on that, right? But just
Mhm.
so that people understand that even though there's bad weather happening, when you listen to the nudge of your soul, because that's what the truth about self-love is, right? Listening to that inner voice, that the weather clears up. I mean, you get to have a magical experience. Now, for me, that's where magic happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
every
please.
time. And I feel so supported and guided because,
Yes.
and they're right, that they nudge me and I know they're right. And now I know that I always feel wonderful after the run. So I don't
Mhm.
listen to my protesting ego anymore that just wants to sit on the couch and relax and not budge, right? But listen to my heart that says you have to move your energy so you feel better and you get inspiration and yeah, and do it now.
Mm. And I guess it's the same for entrepreneurs as well, right? You're sitting there uh, trying to make something work, or you're trying to get this idea out. And I'm
Mhm.
deliberately using the word trying here.
Yes, yes.
And like you said, if you're just sitting there in front of your computer, forcing something to come through, and yet maybe like your dog comes nudging you, wanting you to go outside and throw a ball,
Yeah.
right? Or it could be that you somebody phones you, your child may come up and say, come and do something with me, like show me, or come and color with me.
Hmm.
Or a friend
Hmm.
calls you and says, why don't you just come out for a cup of coffee? And if it's a friend that nourishes your soul,
Hmm.
how many people will leave their work? Because remember, we've been taught to just focus, work, work, work,
Yes.
and not do the counterintuitive thing.
Yes, and not have the reward for having worked, right? Because in a way it's the reward first
Yeah.
and then we should work. And then our mind thinks, no, you have to work first and then you can get your reward.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
we've been conditioned.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's all
And
shifting.
yeah, sorry, Karen.
But that's all shifting.
Yes. Yeah. And you know who, Evelyn, when you say that about the reward coming first, I mean, the old ways, work first, then reward. That's so interesting because that's how Vis and I used to be have been in our space. For me, it's work first, then reward. That's how it
Mhm.
used to be. And for Vis, it's always been reward first and then work. And yes, I think we both were in polarities because you can't do too much of either one, right? Because at some point the brain also wants to see some kind of movement, some kind of action. So where we bring the intellectual side of us to that spiritual, softer side of us that lies in our heart, where we bring it together into this beautiful space of a partnership rather than one side getting everything all the time. Right?
It's beautiful. Yeah, you two are so in sync. You can see that during your lives with live with Visa Nona, Mona. Yeah, it's beautiful to see.
Wow, I love that, Evelyn. You bring, it's like you bring the concept of self-love into such an understandable, flowing space that anyone can understand this. Now, imagine if we got our children, imagine firstly parents, those who are adults right now, to tap into that, to work with that, to be understanding of how self love really works.
Mm,
Imagine the type of world we'll have because of the children that are going to be coming onto this planet that are going to be empowered with this knowledge.
absolutely. Yeah, because I'm a mother myself, and I've had my issues of being a good mom, being a good parent and not failing, which we all have, which is an illusion because we all fail somewhere. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. We're all perfectly imperfect. But I have learned during the journey with my son, who's now 9 years old, to take care of myself. Because if
Yeah.
I don't take care of myself, then he has a mother who is not able to be there for him.
Yeah.
And maybe, not always have a conversation, but there's the presence to be
Yes.
present. And that's important for children to feel that they're there, that the parent is there. Because if you're not there, that's when they start acting up because they can sense, oh, she's not there, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
And I think, and I tell my son also, it's important that you love yourself. It's important that you express your emotions and say your yeses and nos. Of course, he's small, but to honor his truth. But he's
Yeah.
very wise. I mean, he has these beautiful expressions about love, and I'm thinking, wow, I didn't know that at your age, when I was his age. So, yeah, he's a very wise soul.
Well, that's another thing to be able to acknowledge that, Evelyn, because as parents, like you correctly said, we were trying to be this good mom, trying to be the best parent, and yes, it was all like what society told us what a good mom is and what a good parent is. And I guess the most liberating experience is to have this beautiful soul come into our lives, or souls that show us the true way that reconnects us. I guess that's the quickest way to understand the concept of self love, because you've got someone right in front of you that helps you to quickly shift into that space. And there can be a lot of resistance as well to want to shift into that space.
Definitely. Yeah, he's also a child that asks for lots of hugs, which is beautiful.
Mhm.
I love. Who doesn't love being hugged, right? I mean, some
Yeah.
people, but most people
Yes.
love being hugged. And sometimes I'm busy with something, and it's like, no. It's the same with my dog, who also wants affection. No, I'm busy, and he comes and asks for a hug, and then I caught myself during one of those periods, and I thought, what's more important, finishing this task
Yeah.
or accepting this love?
Yeah.
you know and and
Yeah.
and that's also when magic happens, when you
Yes.
when you release the ego, when you're in the moment and you open yourself up to the love that's present, because it's a gift.
Yes.
It's a gift,
Yeah.
and he's still in the hugging state. I wonder how he'll be when he's a teenager, but we'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Well, I can tell you, my 26-year-old still gives hugs and loves having hugs.
Oh, good.
So he's got the same essence like how Max is. He's got so much of love to give. And yes, our little Jack Russell does the same thing. He wants to come, and the first thing he does is he jumps up to you and he wants to be on your chest, and he will follow you around and lie under my desk like all the time. And I guess this is it, when we can see that we can just be, because those precious souls that are around us, whether they are in human form or our fur babies, they remind us constantly how to reconnect to that loving self of ours, that part that we sometimes push aside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so true. That's so
yeah.
true.
Wow. That's just magical. Well, I just say to our viewers that we're going to have a magical experience together, because when we can speak so casually, but yet so profoundly
Mm.
about a topic that seems to have been so misunderstood over all these years. Because it's always seemed, and Evelyn, tell me if you've also experienced that through your years of delving deep into this topic, that it was always seemed like as if it's something that you have to go attain, like climbing a mountain. It
Mm.
didn't make it seem that self-love was something that we could just enjoy and be in that space every single moment of our life.
I agree. And I think we don't grow up with the concept of self love.
Yeah.
Thinking about yourself, I mean, that's the view I had when I was growing up, is that's selfish. You're not
Yes.
supposed to think about yourself. You always think about others. And I was also the good girl, always doing what others told me to do
Mm.
and not really listening to my own voice. I didn't even know I had my own voice. That happened after my divorces. That's when I also discovered my own voice and my own truth.
Mm.
But self love is the most beautiful thing there is, because it reconnects you to your essence. I mean, we're born as pure loving beings, but we've forgotten that.
Yeah. I
And
love
once
that
we
you say
start,
that.
sorry,
Mhm. No, no, please go ahead.
and once we start loving ourselves again, we tap into that loving essence again. We feel that we're loving beings again.
Yeah.
It's also when you give a gift, yeah, you feel you're a being that is able to give love.
Yeah.
That's the most fantastic feeling in the world.
Yeah. And it's so in line with what I shared today as well in my other session. We can't give to anyone else what we can't give to ourselves,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
We can't love another until we first learn how to love ourselves.
exactly. There's a beautiful quote by Marianne Williamson in her book A Return to Love, I think, taken
Mhm.
from the Course in Miracles text. And
Yeah.
she says, no, anything, what's the, anything that is lacking, anything that is lacking from a situation is what you're not giving.
Mm.
And when you think about love, yeah, and usually love is what's lacking in a situation.
Yeah.
Because from the Course in Miracles perspective, you have fear and love. And actually
Mm.
love is the only truth, and everything else is illusion. And fear is seen as negativity and jealousy and judgment and all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when you realize that, she also says, do you want to be right, or do you want to be at peace?
Mm.
Our ego wants to be right. Yes, I'm right. Yeah, and you fight tooth and nail to be right, to win that argument. But are you at peace?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
question. And when you're
That-
at peace, you're centered,
mm.
and it's like,
Mm.
fine, you're right.
Yeah.
I know I'm right, but you're right.
And that's just it. When you say that right now, fighting to be right, oh my goodness, coming from my legal career, I used to bring that into
Mm,
my home as well. And I was always right. Until it's like I understood that kindness that comes from not having, and think about it, wanting to be right comes from a deep wounding as well,
mm,
coming from this feminine wounding of not having a voice, of being seen as less than, seeing as inferior, seeing
mm,
as someone who didn't have an opinion. And it
mm,
didn't matter where we are in the world, because we all connected to whatever that collective impact has been on all women. So it was like proving myself. And then when I also think about it, when I was growing up and my mom having such a bad stutter, that she couldn't speak up to my dad. And for me, it was like, I will speak until I can speak no more. So that was where that whole wanting to be right, rather than really understanding myself and softening
Yeah.
into who I really am, because I got to connect with this beautiful part of me through loving me first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you arrive in that state, then you're not at war anymore with yourself.
Mm, mm,
How would the world be when we're not at war anymore with
yeah.
ourselves?
Yeah.
That's heaven on earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Evelyn. So, Evelyn, how can people reach you? Because you've shared so many golden nuggets today, and you have such a beautiful way of holding space for the people you work with. You
No.
have a beautiful way of bringing their truth out to them, and through them. How do
Hmm.
people connect with you? How do they follow you? How do they get to be in your magical space whenever you're creating?
Well, they can look on my website, which is www.soulradiance.eu. I also have a Facebook group called Awakening Higher Consciousness Community, in which a new series is starting called Voices of a New Earth, and Mona is kicking off the series, so that's really exciting. And in this community, I bring together like minded spirits who are in need of uplifting thoughts, inspiration, music. I post music there as well.
Mm,
I think music is very healing, has been very healing for me. And I can't imagine a life without music.
mm.
So those are the ways. Yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes I organize a rose circle where I do a special heart healing event that's advertised on Facebook and also on my website. But those are irregular events. It's not a regular thing. It's when I get the inspiration. It's like, okay, I feel I need to connect to my heart, so I'm sure other people need to connect to their hearts as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yes. So, to our viewers, if you can get a chance to just experience Evelyn in one of those rose circle experiences, please do join, because you, there's something that's going to happen to you in that. And no, it's not a bad experience. It's going to shift you into the next vibration, the next level, whatever it is you want, because it is in those subtle processes. And I guess that's what happens the more we allow ourselves to love ourselves that intimately, that something happens and it just, I'm going to say it again, magically unfolds for you. So, Evelyn, thank you for that experience, and thank you for giving me the experience to be on your program. And I guess this is what it's about. The new way of being is for us to collaborate with each other. And would you say, Evelyn, as we're wrapping up, when you truly love yourself, you're not in competition with anyone.
No,
You want to nurture relationships, you want to collaborate, because we realize that we are stronger together than we can ever be if we're standing on our own.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's part of the new paradigm of the heart centered consciousness, collaboration, trust, and putting love in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And I think you and I are the one of the fighters for that mission.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it's also beautiful the work you do, Mona, and it was such a gift to be able to express my truth on your show.
Oh, thank you, Evelyn. This has been magical. So we're going to, like Evelyn and I always say, this is just the beginning of a whole new chapter. This year, magic's unfolding for all of us. It is the year, all the twos are in there. So it's all about all the sacred feminine, awakening and reconnection. So whether you hear it from Evelyn, or whether you hear it from me, or any other guest that comes on this platform, it is all about love. And Evelyn, what are we renaming this day to be?
Happy Love Day.
Yes. You did mention that earlier when you were sharing about what's really going on. So we are officially renaming this day today. We don't have a red ribbon, but Evelyn, we're going to pretend that we're cutting a red ribbon. We are officially announcing that today is Happy Love Day. So,
Happy.
Evelyn, that is, and just by the way, it was this insight that popped into Evelyn this morning whilst we were chatting, making plans for getting together for the session this afternoon. And that's how things are birthed when this moment of inspiration just pops in and we take the next aligned steps for it. So that's why we are announcing it officially in this platform today, because who knows what's going to come of it. And if you ever hear it anywhere else, you know where you heard it first. Today, with this beautiful discussion with the amazing Eveline Zwikker. Thank you so much, Evelyn. I love and
Yeah.
appreciate you.
I love and appreciate you too. And to future events together.
Absolutely. Magics waiting to unfold. So, to our viewers, please do share with us, whether you are with us live now or you're watching the replay, what were the golden nuggets you took from today's session? What inspired you and that you're ready to go out into the world and turn your dreams into reality? Let us know. And you know where to find Eveline. And yes, she's also a member of my community, so you'll find her in Alchemy of Abundance as well. So if there's any comments or questions you have for her, please pop it in there so that she can respond to you. So until next time, and whilst we're being in the space of magical creation, we're going to say ciao for now.
Ciao for now.